Hey, our next speaker, back to boxing. I got to tell you, the next speaker has been a great asset to me for the last 26 years. He's been extremely professional, always comes to the ABC meetings and expresses his concerns regarding the boxing industry. And with that said, I'm going to introduce Mauricio Suleiman from the WBC.
Is this in Spanish? No. Which key? Okay. Thank you so much. Anyone in boxing and MMA, the only and the top priority has to be safety. Regardless if you are a boxing organization, a local commission, a referee, a trainer, a promoter, a corporation, whatever, the safety of the fighters has to be the top commitment. We began the weight management program this year after last year's convention, and it's a pilot plan that has been working very well around the world. We have received the support from several boxing commissions in the USA, and basically it's very simple. The WBC started the 30-day weigh-in and 7-day weigh-in many years ago, and from last year's convention we added several matters to this protocol. Every time a promoter signs a fight for the WBC title, they are required to present the weight of both fighters. That way you know exactly how much weight they're going to lose from that day until the fight day. We do this 37 and the 14-day weigh-in has been added, and we do a day of the fight weighing at the arena. And all this data will result in analysis and conclusions. Basically, you can start from warning fighters to fining fighters, withdrawing sanction of the bout, fining or imposing penalties, and what Andy is going to talk after my presentation is basically what happens with those fighters who are not making the weight or who are gaining so much weight after the day of the event. We have contracted a lab who is going to take all this information and put it into data collection and data analysis. And that is going to take a few months to get that information running so we can see what is happening with all that information. I know California has a lot of it. This is a sample sheet. So we get weight when the fight is contracted, 30-day, 14-day, 7-day, official weigh-in, and then the day of the fight weigh-in. And you have all these comparisons. Then you see what was the result of the fight. And they're reaching an algorithm in the university where they're going to be able to analyze what happens with the higher or the lower weight and the percentages all along. We will be sharing all these results with the ABC and anyone who is interested in seeing what is happening with the information against the results of the fights. We're also going to implement a random surprise weight checks to fighters. Any fighter, any person walking without a fight contracted, over 20% of the weight they're fighting or the category they're fighting is recommended to do a thorough analysis on the weight composition, the mass and the fat, because then that's where it becomes dangerous. If there's a fighter who's not weighing within that 20% when he's not contracted, there's an issue and the risk goes up. So basically, our major topics of concern for the WBC is the clean boxing program. We thoroughly talked about it. The nutrition and the hydration elements in boxing and the weight management program. We are finalizing the WBC University, which are going to be courses online that are going to address all these important topics and matters. We were at the California Commission meeting that touched on hydration last year. And the commitment was to create a platform where anyone can educate themselves and attack these three major topics: hydration and dehydration, drugs in boxing, and the weight management. This is going to go along with presentations to fighters. We deeply recommend to boxing commissions to get programs where you can get the fighters after the weigh-in or before the weigh-in or during fight week. You got 20, 30 fighters with the trainers. That's a very good time to develop a 5-minute, 10-minute report to them so they can be more educated. And as I said, we have a lot of information, a lot of materials. We'll be very happy to share whatever with anyone who wishes to use them. We'll be very happy to also go to your states and talk to the fighters, to the trainers, to your commissioners, to your inspectors, and also get that feedback running. There is nothing like working together. The ABC, I see a new face, I see a new attitude, and I think with what is happening and the integration of BoxRec to the ABC tools, this is a great opportunity to also reach out and get the feeling from the world. I see China is here. I see Mexico is here, Canada, the United States. And the reality is that the world is fighting in the USA. Manny Pacquiao is from the Philippines. Anthony Joshua is from England. All these Russians, Polish, all these fighters that come from all over the world, and they are the ones that are fighting under your jurisdiction. So to open up the ABC is a great process. It's a great opportunity to mix and to understand what happens around the world, because it happens in boxing and in MMA. I'm taking home a great quote from Kim, because that is what I really believe. It is not about us. It is not about me. It's about the boxers, and it's about boxing. So everything about social media that was discussed, everything about safety, everything about anything that has to do of these 3 days of work is not about any individual. If you understand that boxing is a very different sport from any other sport, it's you, commissioners, who have a day-to-day relationship with the fighters in the gyms. Those inspectors that are in the dressing room, they have a friendship. They are taking care of those kids. So we have to understand that as long as you do not take this as a personal agenda, as a personal showcase, everything is good, what happens and what is reported and shared. So I'd like to thank Mike Mazzulli for inviting the WBC and giving me the time to present the weight management program. And I want to encourage you to participate. Don't leave the convention, go home, and go back to the routine. Learn from what you got, share from what you got with other commissioners, with other states, with other countries, and then what you do at home is saving lives. Believe it or not, the safety of the sport of boxing and MMA, if you compare what used to happen 30 years ago, 40 years, 50 years ago, it's very different today. However, we just had 2 deaths last week. We had 7 tragedies happening in the ring in the last 2 months. And this is a time where we need to go back to the drawing board and understand what is happening, because something is happening. And it has to do with dehydration. It has to do with sparring and the all not recorded happenings that happen in the gym. And that's where we all can participate and be together and change the lives of the many kids. Any boxer goes in the ring and he's willing to do whatever he has to do to win. whatever he has to do to be successful and make money for his family. If you ask them to fight 20 rounds of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they will do whatever. They're warriors. It's our duty to find how to protect from themselves the fighters. Thank you so very much.